morning ferry was canceled when the mist rolled in off the Atlantic, corralling travelers into the weather-beaten terminal. After an hour of waiting, most dispersed into the fishing town's cafes and antique stores. But Owen Palmer lingered near the docks, breathing air that smelled of salt and cold iron. His ride to Boston was postponed, his phone was dead, and the map kiosk declared no service at this time. That was when he noticed a glowing sign across the parking lot, its neon serif letters pulsing dimly through the haze. "See a Follow Hotel vacancies tonight." Only he had never heard of the place. During his 2 semesters at the Maritime College up the coast, he thought he knew every seafront bed and breakfast that offered student discounts. Yet the tall facade, pale wood siding, mansard roof, turret looked as though it had rested there for decades. Curious and a little chilled, Owen crossed the road, the building growing clearer like a pencil sketch darkening under a charcoal wash. By the time he reached the porch, the fog had thickened enough that he could no longer see the ferry dock at all. Inside, a brass bell chimed. The lobby lanterns radiated the warm hue of lamplight rather than electricity. The little ferry had decreased its power, and the big green slide shape. Under the lamp's light, the streets of... Behind the mahogany counter stood a clerk whose skin had the sallow translucent tone of someone prone to seasickness or study-induced insomnia. His name tag read Caldwell. "Welcome," Caldwell said, voice hushed as though other guests were sleeping nearby. "We keep rooms for travelers marooned by the weather. Single night only. Check in at any time before twilight. Check out by dawn's first gull." The phrasing struck Owen as quaint theater, but he was tired, and the rain had begun to ping against the stained glass windows. He signed the register, a fountain pen, not a ballpoint. The pages were thick cream paper. He glimpsed prior names. Some ink bled into feathered divots as if decades old. Others looked fresh. Several had been crossed out with a red line. "Breakfast is complimentary," Caldwell continued, sliding across an antique key on a rope lanyard. "If you wish to leave before the morning bell, place the key inside the brass strongbox by the front door." He motioned to a chest riveted like submarine plating. "No exceptions." "Is there Wi-Fi?" Owen asked. "We prefer the fog remain uninterrupted," the clerk replied. "You'll find the silence restorative." Owen shrugged, hoisted his duffel, and followed the narrow corridor past oil paintings of stormy seas. His room on the second floor was lit by a gas sconce. The mattress was firm and the sheets starched. He noticed that every surface, mirror, window glass, picture frame, had been polished to a cerulean shine. He saw himself multiply wherever he turned. For a moment he considered heading back to town. Maybe the diner had outlets and a charging cable, but a wave of drowsiness crashed over him. He lay back, fully clothed, listening to the foghorns in distant intervals. Each mournful blast seemed farther and farther away until sleep blanketed him. He dreamed of shorelines stretching infinitely, of footprints filling with opaque water that never touched his boots. Somewhere, gulls argued. When he woke, a silver tray had been placed beside the bed. Smoked mackerel, black bread, and a carafe of coffee whose steam wrote brief messages in the air. He had no recollection of hearing anyone enter. Outside, the mist still enveloped the world. He checked his watch. 4:12 a.m. The ferry wouldn't run for hours. Check out by dawn, the clerk had said. Technically, he could leave now, but trudging back to the dock without breakfast felt self-punishing. He ate, savoring the fish's briny punch, then gathered his belongings. Downstairs, the lobby was deserted. Caldwell's desk lamp burned, but there was no sign of the clerk. Owen called out, his voice soaked into the velvet drapes. He approached the strongbox, a hefty cube with no seams, only a narrow slot like a letter chute. He inserted the key. The metal vanished with a clunking swallow. He paused at the glass front door. Dull shapes of the town's streetlights glimmered, yet remained vague. He cupped his hands for a clearer view and caught his own reflection, faintly superimposed upon the fog. When he moved, the image obeyed almost. There was a fraction of delay, like a bad video call. He lifted a hand slowly, and the mirror self lagged by half a second before following. Owen blinked hard. It could be the old glass, or the uncanny effect of thick haze outside refracting the lobby lights. He tried again, Faster this time, a quick wave. The reflection waved too late by a full heartbeat. The lobby chilled despite the radiator's hiss. Owen opened and stepped onto the porch. Behind him, the door closed of its own accord with a polite click. Out in the street, the effect heightened. Every shop window served as a temporary mirror, and each reflection lagged, not merely by milliseconds, by noticeable escalating margins. He pivoted swiftly, slapping his thigh. The Owen behind the glass mimicked the movement a solid second afterward, as if footage were catching up. His breath created clouds both in reality and in the image, but even the vapors seemed slower inside the panes. Adrenaline sharpened his senses. He needed human company. The diner's neon sign glowed, so he hurried there, pushing through the glass door that jingled a bell. Inside sat two fishermen nursing coffee. He slid into a booth, opened the laminated menu, then looked at the window next to him. His reflection still hadn't caught up. He remained standing outside the entrance where he'd been moments earlier. Then, the mirrored Owen sprinted across the street and only now sat, menu flapping. His stomach flipped. He pressed his palms to the table. A waitress, hair coiled into seafoam curls, approached. "Rough weather got the ferry again," she said, pouring him coffee without being asked. Her name tag read Dory. "Have you ever heard of Seafallow Hotel?" he asked. She stiffened. The fisherman ceased conversation. "That place only shows up when the banks roll in," muttered one of the men, eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights at sea. "Locals don't stay there," Dory added, leaning in. "We know better." "Why?" Owen whispered. The waitress searched for words and then simply pointed to the window. He turned. His reflection lifted its cup half a breath late. But something else was off. The mirrored men behind him chewed air after their real counterparts stopped. The diner's wall clock hands moved, but backward inside the glass. "Some guests," she said, "check in and never bother to check out. They like it there, apparently." Owen remembered the red lines through names in the register. "And the ones who leave?" "They still follow themselves." Dory tapped the window pane. "Some say it stops in a day, others claim it never does." She shivered. "I can't prove either." He finished his coffee quickly, left cash, and stepped out. The fog persisted, yet was beginning to lighten at the horizon. Dawn glimmered violet. Owen debated whether to return to the hotel, ask Caldwell if something was wrong, or head straight to the ferry terminal and board the first boat out. He chose the latter. The terminal gate was locked, but a small queue of travelers had formed, baggage piled like sandbags. They looked half asleep, half terrified, watching their own delayed twins in the glass facade. One woman whispered prayer each time she raised or lowered her arms, synchronizing with the echo self. A boy laughed, turning reflection day into a game of shadow tag. A man in a uniformed dockmaster by the cap unlocked the gate at 6. "We'll sail as soon as visibility hits a mile," he announced. "Maybe 30 minutes. As passengers shuffled inside, one observed the ticketing office's large mirror. A dozen reflections lagged, sometimes by as much as 3 seconds. When real motion stopped, the echo kept moving, gradually resynchronizing like two metronomes. He located a charging station, plugged his phone, and scrolled through social media to distract himself. Nothing loaded. No service. He turned the device into a hand mirror instead, testing the delay. Oddly, the image was in perfect sync. He craned toward a wall mirror again, lag still present. "Glass," he murmured. His phone screen used a different reflective layer, maybe coated, maybe digital. Whatever phenomenon infected standard mirrored surfaces had no grip on LED, comforting, yet unsettling. The first horn of the arriving ferry bellowed, scattering thoughts. Fog had thinned to gauze, one could see the harbor mouth. Owen joined the line down the gangplank. As his ticket was scanned, he glanced at the water's surface, another reflective medium. Ripples distorted an upside-down version of himself. The delay was there too, the watery Owen stepping onto the boat 2 strides late, then halting to catch up. "How long until it stops?" he asked the uniformed deckhand. The sailor squinted. "Pardon?" Owen nearly confessed but swallowed the words. He feared sounding unhinged. A college dropout ranting about haunted mirrors. The deckhand would radio medical. He'd missed the boat, and the hotel might reclaim him. The ferry engines vibrated through steel. Passengers huddled inside the main cabin, windows dotted with condensate. Owen took a seat by a window anyway, determined to watch for anomalies. As the vessel glided away, the town's wharves faded like chalk marks. In the glass, his second self raised binocular fingers to imaginary eyes, peering back at the Seafallow's approximate spot beyond the dunes. It looked frantic. It mouthed something. The real Owen felt sweat spawn along his hairline. The mist lifted, fully 10 minutes into open water, revealing a blue expanse. Sunlight carved a glittering path ahead. Cell service returned. His phone buzzed with queued notifications, missed calls, emails, spam. Relief washed through him. Ordinary signals, ordinary reality. He unlocked the camera app, switched to front-facing, and moved his hand. Perfect synchronicity, he exhaled, half laughing. But the cabin window still misbehaved. He tested again. 1 second lag. Ignore it, he told himself. The boat docked in Boston by noon. Crowds streamed onto the busy wharf. Owen walked toward the subway entrance, encountering more reflective surfaces. Storefront windows, car bodies, puddles from overnight rain. Everywhere the lag persisted, though shorter about half what it had been. Still enough to notice if he paused. A driver polishing his sedan froze mid-wipe when he saw Owen's reflection trailing. Owen kept moving. He rode the red line south. In the subway car's dark window, his shadow delivered gestures, late. A child sitting opposite giggled, copying him. The lag between the boy and his mirrored form was only a quarter second less than Owen's. The effect varied by person then. He scanned the carriage. Most passengers synchronized normally. A couple older women lagged faintly. The boy was nearly synced. When he surfaced onto Tremont Street, full daylight blazed. He hurried to his dorm, keyed in. The foyer's mirror was antique. The university prided itself on old New England charm. He braced himself. The delay was now barely a flicker, maybe a tenth of a second, visible only if one looked for it. He sighed, shoulders relaxing for the first time in hours. His roommate, Marcus, burst from the kitchenette. "Dude, where you been? You missed econometrics." "Stranded by fog," Owen said, dropping his duffel. "Long story." He opened the fridge for orange juice. The stainless steel door caught his reflection. No lag, he thought. He closed slowly, scrutinizing. Nothing. Marcus frowned. "You okay? You look like you ate a ghost." "Just tired." Owen raised the juice to drink. A metallic clang sounded, a delayed echo of the fridge door closing. He snapped his gaze to the chrome toaster. Its polished side showed the Owen of moments ago, still bent inside the fridge. Then the image straightened, raised the juice, and disappeared into alignment. Owen backed away. He grabbed his jacket. "I need fresh air," Marcus called after him. But he was already in the hall, heading for the campus counseling center even though appointments were booked months in advance. He needed someone trained in hallucinations. Yet part of him feared that telling would cement the phenomenon. Halfway across the quad, he passed the sculpture pool. Bronze abstract shapes protruded from water that reflected the sky like a sheet of mercury. His image in the pool was late, by barely a blink. Perhaps it was indeed fading. He spent the afternoon attending lectures, intentionally sitting away from windows. By evening, the echoes were subtle enough that he had to concentrate to detect them. He dared to hope Caldwell's curse, if that's what it was, would dissolve overnight like jet lag. At 11 p.m., he brushed teeth in the communal bathroom. Fluorescent tubes buzzed overhead. The long mirror held 8 sinks worth of students. Owen lifted his toothbrush. His reflection lifted a breath later. The guy next to him, an over-caffeinated engineer, noticed. "Mirror lag," the engineer chuckled. "Weird glitch." He waved erratically, watching his own ghost. Things always had issues. "Always?" Owen asked sharply. "Yeah, at night it desyncs, I swear." The engineer shrugged. "Probably the ballast humming at 60 hertz. Messes with perception." He left, humming. Owen faced the mirror alone. He raised a finger. "Delay." He closed his eyes, counting one Mississippi. He opened them, reflection still blinking open. Was time catching up, or merely pretending? Enough, he muttered. He returned to his room, forced himself asleep, and dreamed of hallways of silver glass, with each step mirrors fractured, shards spinning in vortex. But echoes remained intact, stuck to air without surfaces. Morning sunlight, Marcus already left. Owen darted straight to the stainless fridge door. Perfect sync. Relief ballooned. He checked the toaster. Same. Raced down to the dorm foyer. Faced the antique mirror. Instantaneous. He laughed, loud, manic, joyous. The ordeal was over. 2 weeks passed. Midterms devoured everyone's attention. Owen rarely thought of sea fallow except when foghorns drifted from the harbor. Then one October night, a storm system trapped the city in thick haze. From his dorm window, the skyline vanished. Distantly, a horn moaned, the same note the hotel had swallowed. Owen's phone buzzed. Voicemail from an unknown number. He played it on speaker. Only muffled seashore waves and a bell like the desk bell Caldwell rang. He deleted the message, heart drumming. He paced. The old fear crawled back. Maybe delay could return whenever fog did. He marched to the bathroom mirror at 2 a.m. No lag. Smiled, shaky. On his way back, he passed the lounge where a flat screen showed muted infomercials. The glossy black frame reflected him. On time. He exhaled, turning away. The reflection, however, did not. It remained facing the screen, frozen while the real Owen moved. When he stopped, reflexively looking back, it jolted, racing to catch up before settling. This time delay carried malice, a deliberate taunt. He dashed upstairs, grabbed his backpack, and locked the door behind. The elevator doors mirrored him. They lagged. He opted for stairs. Outside, fog pillared across lamppost cones. He tried not to glance at car windows, but peripheral vision kept detecting belated gestures. He had one destination in mind, one place that might explain and perhaps fix whatever tether existed: the sea fallow. If it appeared only in fog, maybe the same door would open even in Boston's weather. Springhill jumped to his feet. Maybe the same door would open even in Boston's weather. An irrational plan, but staying seemed worse. He reached the subway, boarded an outbound train, and rode until ground-level tracks skirted the Charles River. Pale lights shimmered in water with abusive delay. At Riverside Terminus, he emerged to an empty parking lot where fog muffled all sound. Breath plumed. Where next? He walked, street after street of sleeping suburbs. Then he saw it. Between two maple trees beyond a picket fence, the turret of a familiar mansard roof. Impossible. He was dozens of miles inland. Yet the sign glowed. Sea Fallow Hotel. The letters flickering like gills. Drawn, he crossed the yard. The building stood silent. No roar of breakers. Only crickets, suffocated by mist. He stepped onto the porch. Boards creaked. The door opened before he touched it. Caldwell waited behind the counter, pin poised. "Welcome back, Mr. Palmer. Rooms are available as always while the fog endures." "I never asked for this," Owen said, voice quavering. "Very few do." Caldwell nodded toward the register. "Your name remains unsatisfied by a red line." Owen realized what that meant. He had left before the hotel had finished with him. Why the reflections? "They are simply proofs," Caldwell said gently. "Proofs that part of you remains here. The longer you deny it, the more unruly your shadow becomes. What if I stay? Will they sink?" The clerk turned pages in the ledger. Guests who remain past the sun's unveiling experience no more dissonance. They live in stable accord, though only within these walls. Outside, the world readjusts badly. Owen pictured life confined to halls of polished glass, meals delivered on silent trays, years passing without sunrise. A living mausoleum. Yet outside, his double might eventually outpace him, break free, replace him. He shivered. "I'm tired," he confessed. Caldwell placed a brass key in his palm. "Room 217 is ready." Key heavy as resignation. Owen ascended the staircase. The corridor welcomed him with rows of mirrors. None delayed. They obeyed. In his assigned room, the window revealed swirling fog, but offered no hint of the crimson line or the suburban street. Only oceanic darkness. He sat on the bed. The mattress received him like familiar hands. He removed his shoes, placed them neatly. Checked the wall mirror. Perfect match. But another thought sprouted. Perhaps he could retrieve the missing fragment without surrender. If the reflection lag indicated anchor points, maybe there was a way to stitch them together outside the hotel, once and for all. To do that, he would first need to understand where the reflections waited. He rose, pacing. The mirror followed in lockstep. He touched the glass. It was cool, fluid almost. On a reckless impulse, he pressed harder. The surface gave like fog itself. His hand sank past the pane without resistance. On the other side was neither room nor hallway, but a gray shore where footprints filled with opaque water. The dream beach. He yanked his hand back, heartbeat rapid. He realized what the reflections were, not ghosts, but emissaries from that shore trying to drag him in. Leaving the hotel prematurely had left him tethered but not fully absorbed. If he stayed and crossed now, the lag would vanish forever, because he would join the other side. If he fled again, the echoes would intensify until something broke. So he said aloud to nothing. Compromise. He opened the valise and withdrew a notebook, pen. In fast strokes, he wrote his story, instructions, warnings, hoping another drifter might read. Then he tore the pages, wedged them behind the frame of the vanity so only a sliver stuck out. Next he returned to the hallway, searching. At the far end, a service stair descended to the kitchen. He found the strong box, same as in the lobby, mounted beside a back exit. Its chute gaped. Instead of slipping the key in, he tossed the entire ring of keys from a wall peg, dozens of them, into the box. The mechanism clanged. He believed, perhaps irrationally, that dumping all keys might break certain rituals. Maybe no checkouts, no check-ins. A hotel without keys loses its hold. He exited through the servant's door. Outside, fog roared like surf. Behind him, the hotel's outline dulled, edges sliding. He walked blindly until a soft glow resolved into a lamppost, then another, forming a path that led back toward the commuter station. Before entering the shelter, he turned to the glass of the vending machine. The reflection stood in perfect unison. He waited a full minute, performing elaborate motions, even a dance step Marcus once taught him. No lag. Relief surged hot enough to tear ducts. He wasn't certain whether his sabotage worked or if the phenomenon had run its course, but he accepted the synchronicity as reprieve. When dawn finally cracked the horizon, the fog shredded into pink wisps. The place where the hotel had perched between maples was an ordinary vacant lot. Only trampled grass suggested midnight trespass. Owen boarded the earliest inbound train, sat by a sunlit window, and watched his reflection glimmer in real time upon the glass. Once he whispered to it, "Stay close." The image mouthed simultaneously, as any honest mirror should.